Ladies and gentlemen, now we get to the next session of the day, which is on practice of money laundering in the public sector. And we have Mr. Ibrahim AlFuraih, the Corporate Ethics and Compliance General Manager for the Royal Commission of AlUla. To quickly introduce Mr. Ibrahim, he's a goal-oriented and enthusiastic professional with more than 10 years of experience in control functions, audit, and compliance, with a bachelor's degree in accounting. He is skilled in decision making, building teams, critical thinking, and problem solving as well, with an ability to embrace complexity, awareness, and understanding of regulatory framework and attention to detail, which are essential for advising organizational leaders and assisting them with adhering to regional and international rules and regulations. At a personal level, he has been a person who's craving to gain more knowledge by the day. In fact, when we were interacting earlier, he said, I want to attend this particular conference to learn more from the other speakers as well. So, Mr. Ibrahim, thank you so much for your time. And I leave the stage for you to share your thoughts on the topic that you'll be presenting. Thank you.
Many thanks, Anam, and many thanks for the attendance, all of them. I don't know, Mr. Anam, if the presentation is showing to you or not. Your mic is off.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can. Okay, it's visible.
Okay, great. Okay, today we are talking about the AML in practice requirement in the public sector in Saudi Arabia. Actually, in the start, we are talking about the overview of anti-money laundering. And that's one as money laundering is a series for the threat for that's one for all the global financial statement as far for reaching and concerns for the government's financials. Actually, we're talking about what's the money laundering. For the money laundering, actually, for that's one the process for concerning the origin and ownership and destinations of the eligibility to obtain the money. I don't want to consume a lot of time for you because I know this is a shortage of time and we have a lot of slides. We will go to the next slide for what is the three stages for the money laundering. Actually, we have three stages. We are talking about the placement, laundering, and integration for that one. In the first stage, we are talking about the placement, which is talking about in the encrypting the money for that in the financial system. That can be done through the versus and many such depositing cash into bank account or purchasing assets with the cash or investing in a business like what we are doing now for buying the very high luxury investment side like in the vintage or jewelries. For the lighting, that's when we are talking for the second stage where the fund of monies are moved through the series of transactions, make it for difficult to track that's one from the origins. The integration, that's one which is we are talking here in the final stage where the fund introduced for us to into the economics and to also to return to back to the funding for the account bank. The role of AML and the purpose for that one is actually to prevent and detect and protect the money in the laundering and terrorist financings. In the public sector in the Saudi Arabia here we are talking about in the role of that one. It's very important in the public sector in Saudi Arabia. The public sector in Saudi Arabia playing the critical roles to maintain and integrate all the financial system and the protections and the national security. Because all of that one as the AML activities will be affect for the national security in the country. And the responsibility which is related to the public sector for AML, we have a responsibility to establish and maintain a repository AML program, also comply with applicable law and regulations conducted and risk assessment implemented for the internal control and report suspicions in the activity regulatory. Also, we have collaborations with the regulatory authorities. Here in Saudi Arabia, we have the Saudi Central Bank, which is called as a stand of SAMA, to exchange informations and grant inspections all the audits which is done through the transaction from the bank, and forcing the cultures of the compliance In the public sector, actually, we should be promote a strong culture for compliance. We are have also that's one specialist which is related to the procurement in the next slide. Here, actually, we are talking about in the role, the sorry. Here, actually, we are talking about the role of AML in the procurement process in the public sector. When we are dealing in the public sector with a recruitment process, we are talking about the different stages and the process we are having. In the first of one, we are talking identify the AML and risk of recruitment and the due diligence for suppliers and contract, and for also monitoring the suspicion transactions, also internal control and compliance, and the last one, which is the cooperation with the AML stakeholders. Identifying for the risk assessment for identifying the AML risk in recruitment, that's when we are talking about the present versus money laundering risk, such for the abet, from data invoicing, and also misuse a public fund. The due diligence on the supplier and contract, usually when we calling for a contractor here in Saudi Arabia, we are asking for the due diligence. We check the background for the vendors, what we have it as a compliance, for a commercial certificate, the accounting, what we have it internally and externally in Saudi Arabia, all the articles associated for the owners. The importance of components of money laundering in the public sector. Actually, the public sectors play a vital role to safeguarding in the public fund and maintaining transparency and prevent illicit activity that can harm the economy and society. For the applicable laws and regulations, here in Saudi Arabia, actually, we have reassurance in the under our royal degrees, which is related to the public prestations and SAMA, Saudi Central Bank, as responsible to ensuring the compliance with all AML activity in the banking sector, and plus for the other entities such as in the public sector which we are working, and also which is related to the activity in CMA. The reporting obligations. Any reporting obligations for public sector entry are required to fill the suspicions activity report, which is we call it CRSAs, when they have any responsible ground to suspect money laundering and terrorist financing. Also, process for filling the so the suspicious activity process, the process involved documented and reporting suspicious activity or transactions to all the financial intelligence units in Saudi Arabia, that which enter the Ministry of the Internal Ministry. As the anti-money laundering country in Tourism Financial Department. For the which we are here, the importance of the customer due diligence. It is a critical process, and here what we are mentioning with the procurement sectors and the public sector. The customer due diligence is a critical process that the public sector entity must undertake it and verify the identified customer and assess the risk of potential money laundering or illicit activity. Public sector required to perform through the customer due diligence measures and including identify the verification of risk assessment and ongoing monitoring and transactions. The risk-based approach we are using here, concepted for that one, it is involved in assessing and managing all AML risk, prioritizing the resources and effort based on the level of risk posed by customer, production, service, and logistics. Implementing the risk-based approach in the public sector can implemented by conducting risk assessment, also categorize that customer or transactions based on the risk and based on the nature of public sector of the public sector entity. Have multiple one public sector entity. We have the like which is the ministry, we have authority, and we have some companies working in the public sector, but it is have it in a company legal wise. Not it's pure a public sector, which is now we here we have what's actually the compliance management or an internal control compliance management. The opposite that's one as internal control and the compliance management program are essential to detecting and preventive and reporting potentials of money laundering activity within a public sector entity. The example for that one, we can implement a measure such as policy and procedure, segregations of duty, transactions, monitoring system, and employee training to ensure all of them are comply with compliance requirement. Especially when we are talking the segregations of duty, we are trying to avoid any duplicate of duty for as a maker or checker what we are doing from the same person. Training and awareness what we should be provided to the employee internally the entity should be give him as annual training to know him what's actually the in AML, how they can deduct the suspicious transactions, where how to are they are reporting that one, what's the department they are responsible to receive the reporting. Cooperation and cooperations, actually close the cooperation and cooperations between the public sector entity and the relevant authority strengthens the email effort to share the information, expertise, and resource to combat money laundering effectively. And here in Saudi Arabia, actually, we are establishing a cooperation mechanism such as integrations committee and information sharing a platform to facilitate the cooperations and coordinate among a public sector entity, regulatory body, and also law enforcement to the agencies. That's one. Which is we are talking about in the transfer the knowledge, transfer the data, like what we are have here. It's called SIMA, which is usually you have a right to inquiry for anyone if they have any bad credit history. And the best practice actually, we are talking about in the regular risk assessment, implemented technology-based solutions, ongoing monitoring, review of our risk and of AML control. The conclusions that we are having, the fight of agents among in the laundering and terrorism financing in the public sector of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is paramount importance. Through the presentations, we can have explored the key competence for AML, including the importance of combating money laundering, applicable that's when the law and regulations, and also AML regulatory framework, reporting obligations, customer due diligence, risk-based approach, internal control compliance, so also for training and awareness and corporations and corporations. Sorry for that one. I know it's coming very fast. I have a limited time. If you have any questions, actually, I am happy to receive it. I am happy if you receive it through email or via chats. Many thanks, Mr. Anna.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim, for your insightful presentation. And we definitely look forward for more sessions from your end.